Hey y'all, it's Anna V, and you, my friend, are listening to the All-American Wing Shooting Podcast. I am a hunter, conservationist, mom of 2 girls I have raised in the outdoors, and a proud owner of a truck full of dogs. My passion is guiding you to confidence, sharing in tradition, and celebrating the true meaning of success in the field. Here we go.
Three, two, one. Bingo.
Hey, welcome to another episode of All-American Wing Shooting Podcast. This is the special series with Kevin Sterk, episode 2 of the countdown to 100. Then we'll
100.
That's right. What he said. So we're thrilled to have him back on. He is up in New Jersey at Griffin and Howe. I'm back in Georgia. And I miss you, Kevin.
There you go. Same here.
I've only been home for a few days, but it seems like I've been home a while.
This is a very hard place to leave. It's kind of not too many things outside of this that you really need other than just being here. So
I know. I posted the bear that we saw up on the upper clay course, and I was like, paradise above the Mason-Dixon.
That's it. That's it.
I know it's really funny when people are like, where's Anna? And my mom will be like, New Jersey. They're like, what the heck? She's up north. And I'm like, if you only knew, you should have to experience it for yourself.
Well, people think, when they think New Jersey, they think of coming into Newark Airport. And what do they see? Refineries, the derrick cranes from the loading of the ships. And it's like, that's not what we are. We're the Garden State. We're up here in northwest New Jersey. We're in the highlands of New Jersey. So.
And
all good.
Beautiful mountains and lakes and rocky, just
best kept secret in Jersey.
So, let me tell you what I did. Okay. The running joke, of course, was that I got kicked out of rifle lessons because I wasn't excited enough to hang out with Tristan. I hit all my targets. I did amazing. There's 1,000-yard target range there. I shot out to 700. Came home, and because this last trip, Tristan was like, Anna doesn't need to shoot with me because she don't get very excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
So what he didn't know is that we are getting overtaken with groundhogs, okay? They're everywhere. They're causing huge messes. I mean, who knew that this cute little furry thing could be so destructive?
Menace.
They're terrible.
They're a menace.
Yeah, the trees and our creek banks, everything is just falling apart.
If you have cattle, it's a real deal.
Right, and we were going to move our cows here, but we have not done that yet. But anyway, so I was making coffee yesterday morning, and I'm like, that sucker's a goner. So I pulled out the kids' youth rifle. I mean, old school, like the pink camo when JC was 12. And I don't know, it was probably 7,500 yard shot. It was there and then it was gone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way that thing got away, right? So I go down there. I mean, I'm in my pajamas. I go down there and the thing is just fell over in its hole and it was just cupped up there. And I was like, yes. So I took a picture of it and I took a picture of the rifle and I sent it to Steve and Tristan. And I'm like, Tristan's gonna cringe when he sees that I took this with the kid's rifle and a Bushnell scope because he has every cool gadget and is like such a genius in that world. And so I just cracked up and Steve's like, pack it up and bring it here and get a lesson.
Yeah, a little bit of old school action there.
Yeah, it was really funny.
So what else is going
on? New things. So you're the clay king up there. And I'm bringing some wing shooting stuff to your world. So we've been hardcore planning driven shoots to the UK area, driven shoots to Spain. We've already got dates set next July for our first trip to South Africa to do some wing shooting there.
Yep.
And of course we have our year-round events here in the States. So the first one coming up is actually at Griffin and Howe. We're hosting a group of ladies there next month.
Yep, sounds good. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah, so anybody listening, you guys want to get in on any of this, shoot us a message. We'll get you the dates. Not everything is always posted on AnnaVOutdoors.com. So make sure you're in straight communication with one of us. Okay. So you may not know this, but your staff does. All those girls that keep you in line up there
Most.
has,
Most.
has seen that our first episode is live on all podcast platforms, including YouTube.
I'll have to look at it tonight when I get home.
I'm
We'll
so
look forward to
excited.
seeing it.
And I know we did it on a whim, so we didn't have all the lights and all the camera angles and everything, but
It's okay. Rather just pull it right out. Just
it
do it
was
natural.
so good. I will tell you, it's my favorite podcast I've ever recorded.
And look, 99 to go.
It's
Right?
just going to get better. Okay, so on that description, I said and reiterated the fact that we want to hear from everybody listening. Like, what are you guys wondering? How can you help your shooting? What are the big questions you have with gear? Locations to go shoot? Like, there's so many options out there. Ammo. Gosh, ammo's such a tricky thing to people. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of the first things we'll do is let your listeners throw you questions and say, what about this? What about that? Instead of us telling them, what you should be doing, let them give you the questions and we'll fill in the blanks, right? So you're going to the UK or you're going to Maine for a woodcock hunt or
yeah,
you're going to South Dakota for a pheasant hunt and we'll bring those topics right to the top. And
we have a
it's easy
question.
to discuss because that's what we do.
We do have a question to start off.
Go ahead.
Question number one is about the changes in clay instruction. Like, how has clay instruction evolved?
It's evolved quite a bit. In the early days in America, mostly in the Northeast here, clay instruction was pretty much tailored to, playing the game, the clay games, like teach someone how to shoot skeet or shoot trap and actually play the game versus working techniques. As the games evolved, that's where the instructional part came in, where it got very technical, and we started to recognize deviation in the eyes, left-handed, right-handed, how gun fit affected point of impact, and the lack of knowledge of just even how to mount the gun properly. As the game started to get very technical, so did the instruction and the information and the techniques to get people to move in a proper manner. So it's as the game evolves, so does the instruction. It used to be very, very simple. It wasn't very well thought out. Back even start with eye dominancy. You used to see people, the hands up, or look for. It's gone so much further than that. That technique you're basically picking a side. There's so much more as
That's
far
just
as
something I learned from
deviation.
you.
There's so much gray area in between,
Yeah.
and it's gone so much more advanced. And we could talk a lot about that subject, but really identifying the issue and adding some techniques to help someone that has a lot of deviation, so they do shoot straight.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, back in the day, it was everybody picked up a gun, and off they went, and they didn't even have it in consideration. And some people, oh, he's such a natural. Maybe he just saw it right. He didn't have any deviation. Another person says, well, this just isn't for me. So they went and they played another game. So it's evolved tremendously, tremendously. If you go back 40 years, and in all the sporting clay books, well, actually, there was no sporting clay books 40 years ago, but look back in all the wing shooting books, they were very, very primitive. I mean, I've got quite an extensive library, and they never really spoke about it. They never had to deal with it. It wasn't any known principles or known truths, as I like to call them. It was still in its infancy stage. So we've come a long way.
Yeah.
We've come a long
And
way.
even within the industry, there's such little knowledge. I mean, it's almost like this one little bubble has got all the information, it hasn't trickled down yet. With me spending this last season in the youth world with these kids, a lot of times these kids are started with parents who just want their kid to have an opportunity, so they take a volunteer position. They're going through the NRA certification, which is probably on the basic level of when Clay started. And
And I would agree. I would agree. It's all. Look, I'm going to tell you, any kind of instruction is good. So their job is to get them to shoot in a safe and an entertaining atmosphere. So we have some young talent that all of a sudden they say, "Dad or Mom, I really like to do this." So at that point, if the child, depending on what the age is, wants to move this thing forward, you can always go see a professional coach. But we love all those people because those are grassroots people.
yeah,
They're at the volunteer level. Those people are dealing with the seedlings, I would say, right? They're dealing with the
our
seedlings.
future. They're dealing
That's
with
your
our
future,
future.
and they're so
Yeah.
important. SCTP, the same thing. They're seeing kids that don't get a chance to come see folks like me until later on in their career. But it's extremely important that those programs are out there and bringing in these kids and say, wait until you see this kid shoot, or
Yeah,
this
and
kid's
that's
got a
the
little bit
thing.
of
It's
talent.
like, how do we, when we know these secret sauces, right? We understand the complexity of this. How do we show support to the parents that are in the volunteer positions, or a parent whose kid's on a team with a volunteer who just hasn't had access or time to learn these things? Like, that's my thing. It's like, don't quit just because nobody knows. It's everybody started there in the beginning. Like, you don't know what you
Everybody
don't know.
started as a blank piece of paper.
Yeah,
I think some of the challenges these people have are A, proper equipment to work with.
agreed for
We
sure.
know youth requires very different stock dimensions.
Hmm.
You may have some eye issues.
Yep.
Kids have a tendency of, if they do really well, they get excited about it, and they don't do well, and they could have the possibilities of doing very well, but maybe slightly misguided, or maybe they were read wrong. The eyes, kid could be left eye dominant, and the guy's he or she is trying to get him to shoot right-handed, and they just don't see it right, and it could be a very missed opportunity. So that grassroots is extremely important, of identifying and getting them started properly, so they can get a shot at being with somebody like myself or you.
I've
To
been really floored, honestly. I think us touching on this conversation on our last podcast last week has somehow put something in the air. And I've had two accomplished hunters that are dads reach out to me in the last 4 days about their daughters that have no confidence in shooting, that want to be better, and they don't know how to get them from point A to where they are. And I think sometimes it's overlooked when you have an accomplished hunter. You just assume that they understand that path of
and that's a
how to
funny
get
thing you just
involved.
said, right? The funny
Yeah.
thing you just said. The way I teach and the way I've trained my understudies are, never assume anything. The day you start assuming this, that's when you get yourself in trouble, because you might be you misread something. You haven't let something develop, that you're going to see something develop in the person shooting, that if you misread it and misguide them, things will go pear-shaped, and now he or she doesn't want to do it anymore, because, let's face it, most folks are instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants, right? Like this, instant
Oh my gosh,
gratification, bing, bing, bing,
Instagram
I
has
win.
wrecked us for that, for sure. Yes.
So here at a shooting academy, and we do something very different. This is a shooting academy. This is not. I'm not doing this freelance myself. We have a set curriculum here.
Hmm.
We have set teaching methods. No one gets out the door without checking eye dominancy, gun fit. We make sure everything is right before we step outside the door. And unfortunately, the grassroots folks don't have that
Yes.
opportunity to do that on a very consistent basis. They may get lucky 50% of the time. So that gives me a major advantage. So I think at some point we'll talk a little bit about some of these methods that we can kind of share with people to get them moving forward in a more efficient manner.
I
You
think
agree with
something
that?
that you touched on is it makes the difference in a successful shooter and an inconsistent shooter. Is
Yep.
that no matter who you take a lesson with, I mean, typically your clients stick with you because you built the rapport with them. But sometimes schedules just don't work out. And you guys have a group of guys that have been trained in the same manner,
Yep.
they have the same system. And so no matter who you go with there, you're going to build on the prior lesson.
Absolutely.
That is so important because I've heard again this last year where these parents are like, "Oh, we've gone to this like celebrity coach and then we've gone here." And it's so great to have the experience with everyone because it really does build your story and your passion for the industry. But if people don't share a system, you're going to end up with holes in there, and that's going to translate into inconsistency in your game.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. So I think what can happen also too is if you look at the top tier shooters, without going into names, if you look at the top tier shooters, they're they're all pretty much doing this close to the same thing at
Mhm.
that level to be at that level. Occasionally, someone will use a very unorthodox method in which to break a target, but it might be a very difficult thing to teach.
Mhm.
It's an unorthodox method of doing it. You, as a shooter, might be proficient in that particular style of shooting, but it's a very difficult thing to teach. It's something that you've acquired where it's not really working off. Look, the hands move to what the eye sees, okay? This is a visual management game. And until you get the student to really understand how to look at the target, that's the whole essence of this game is being in visual management of the bird, whether it's a pheasant, woodcock. People say, "Oh, the grouse are so fast," because you're not looking at it.
Well, I do find them to be very fast,
Well, they
especially
surprise
when
you,
they're lost
right?
in the trees. But Nick and I talked about it last night. We're going to Maine, and we've got some trips planned, so I cannot wait for the leaves to change because I know that it is so beautiful up there in the fall.
Yep, it's quite
Okay,
an experience.
I don't want to get off topic because I love that you talk about this. I've also, heard because I've only taken with one coach like that. I sold out to him mainly because I just didn't know better, but it worked in my favor. So I learned
Hmm.
something the right way finally, even if it was by accident. But there's this one kid that shoots on Tater's team, and he is a riot. Big personality, so much potential. He's 13, he's shooting with the big boys, all this stuff. So um, I wanted to talk to him about like his mental management training because he's shooting a CTP, but he's also over at NSCA and he's bouncing
Hmm.
around and he's a talker. So I'm like, I do want to hear what the younger generation thinks about their shooting and their training. I just find it fascinating. And, like my biggest thing is carrying on tradition. So it's like, what makes these kids light bulb come on and like what sticks with them. So I ask him deep questions all the time and just let him rant. So he was talking about how like one shooting coach is all about sustained lead and one's over here. And he's like, but here's the thing that I've learned. And this is hilarious. Okay. 13-year-old boy,
13.
13. He's like, I really like shooting with the old guys because over there at NSCA, because they don't understand that these kids, us, we're coming with all these new methods. And I'm like, really? Holy smokes, like I gotta hear about this, right? He's like, yeah. He said, we don't stick to just one thing. He's like, sometimes you
Not at all.
sustain lead here and sometimes it'll take a swing through here. And I was like, he's got it. Like he got it. And it was so funny that he pigeonholed the people that actually built that system
Yep.
only because his coaches hadn't necessarily
He
taught him
thinks
that, but he picked up on it himself. And it was so
yep.
cool.
He absolutely realizes that you need a much bigger toolbox to get the
Yes.
job done.
Yes.
Now,
And it was awesome.
everybody, so think about this. How do you shoot ski? Mostly maintain lead. So anybody that switched, when the game first came in, they went from skeet to sporting clays. So how did they shoot sporting? Maintain lead. Maintain lead is a good technique, but it's not something we shoot on every target. That's by all means, right?
Right.
Swing through. There's a very large discrepancy on what you think is swing through versus rip through, right?
Mm-hmm.
I call it controlled pass through.
Yeah.
I don't go through the bird at 100 miles an hour. I control my gun coming through the bird. We see
We
diminishing
call that
lead.
in my world bum belly beat. Bang.
That's a British way of saying, right? And that just kind of delivers the message of, right,
Right.
come through the bird. Bird passes gun, gun passes bird. You know, diminishing lead. No one ever thought about that, right? But pretty effective. Not something I use on everything, but very effective in the right place. So the more tools you have, the bigger toolbox you got. You see a target where no one else is. There's no place to run with that bird. Just go out and put the gun off and chop it off, right? So the younger youth are seeing, and I would say taking advantage of all the hard work all those old time shooters put into discovering and coming up with those techniques. So,
Yes.
because that's where they came from, right? A lot of good
Right.
guys came before us and figured out the right way, the most efficient way to break that kind of a target.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking for consistency, aren't we?
Yeah, it was so intriguing to have such an intellectual conversation with a 13-year-old, and he thinks
Right?
it's brand new.
His perspective, right?
Right.
His perspective. It's like, wow, you didn't think he was thinking about it, right?
I know. I didn't expect that. My dog just laid on my cord. Sorry. I thought she was
That's all
going to
right.
turn my screen off. But yeah, so I thought you would get a kick out of that. I would love to bring him up there to spend a day with you. It would just tickle me. Oh my gosh, it would be so fun.
We can
That would
make
be
that
so
happen.
fun. Yeah, I'm
The
gonna have
more
to
the merrier
do
up here.
that.
We get room for everybody. So
So
yeah, it's a good
talking about
perspective.
that,
So
like,
that is, and throughout the country, it's a different culture. We're up here in New Jersey.
mhm.
You get out more in the rural areas, the country. Kids out shooting after school programs are much more viable. They're much more accepted than here in New Jersey. So there's more effort put into them. So grassroots, baby. They're dealing with the seedlings. That's the way I see it.
I know, and I just have such a heart for that after this first year at SCTP to see these um, state representatives, the national representatives show up for all these shoots, how big time club member or managers are opening the door for hundreds of kids. That they're putting so much effort into
So,
building this industry.
so some of those efforts include, right? You think about it. Let's say I'm a range owner. Most of the range owners I know, youth discount,
Hmm.
discount on ammunition, discount or no fee for gun rental. We want to make it almost impossible for you to not want to come and shoot with us, and that's what's going to move it forward.
I think I lost your video, but you can keep talking.
Yeah, I see you. You're not moving. I think I lost you actually.
I'm here.
Yeah. You see me?
Nope.
Okay.
It, I, we're still rolling.
Yeah, we are. So anyway,
So the whole thing that motivated me was that when I got that question about the evolution of shooting techniques, and then I thought about the kid, I was like, I almost feel like we're getting back to our roots.
Little bit. Isn't it funny though? He's the beneficiary of all this work over the years, right? Of this technique and that technique, and so I'm good to hear it. I'm glad I can hear stuff like that. The kid starts to have recognition that there is
What the
more
heck
than one way.
happened?
All good.
Okay, so sometimes we have technical difficulties, but we just hop right back in. So, Kevin,
Yep.
glad you're back.
So as I was saying, these young ones are benefiting from a lot of work through the years of developing different techniques and different styles of some known styles that absolutely work. And I just got a camera disconnected.
You're there. You're there. I
Okay.
see you.
All right. Then I'm going to continue.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's super cool that the kids are putting in so much effort. It's not like other youth sports that I've been involved with where they show up and they're completely reliant on a coach.
Well,
So for
remember
games,
something.
like for game plays or whatever, these kids take the foundations of their coaches and run with it.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
Instant gratification. It's you and the target. And I think it really gets a kid excited. Like, I can really do this, and you can really exceed, and you don't have to be a super athlete. I think it lights a kid's personality up like no tomorrow.
I'm with you. I say there's nothing that builds confidence better than shooting sports, no matter what kind. Of course, our favorite's wing shooting or at least shotgunning, but I've seen it with women and kids for so long because I've been on the beginners level where you've been at more of the advanced level in coaching for so long, and it's instant gratification for me to see them light up.
Absolutely. Look, success generates a high level of motivation. And these kids come in like when I'm working with them, the success to generate that instant drive. And typically, I get kids breaking targets right off the bat. Just get hungry for the knowledge. Once they trust you, I give them what they need, and as they start to learn, we'll start filling in the blanks. But those
I love that.
early lessons are so important. It's highly addictive. You know that. We're all shooters. I mean, I can never stop thinking about shooting. It's just where are we going next? Where are we going next? We're going to Maine. We're going straightened out my dove hunt down in Tennessee. I mean, I can't get enough of it. At 70 years old, I still, you know.
I'm with you, and like I want to make this as easy as possible for parents who don't have the knowledge we have. Because when we say it, it sounds super easy. But the reality is, it actually is very easy with the right team.
There's a couple of categories that we should probably touch on. It's like, so some parents don't have the resources. Things in some places can be. A child in the shooting sports is probably the best thing in the world for them. But maybe the parents don't have the resources, whether it be A, time, B, finances, ability to get them to a place or lack of a place to get that kid started on that pathway to be a outdoors person. One where we all started. You could have a family relative that got you started, or you could have just went out with some friends. A lot of these kids, they have so much pressure of soccer and this and that and on their list unless they get that magical moment where they get hooked up and they have that time where like this was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle took me shooting, and it was the do what I call feed the monster. Feed the monster.
Yeah, the dad that I talked to this morning that was saying his daughter's 16 and she is calling him out she's like, I've only shot a deer. Like, we're supposed to have all these memories now. She has an older sibling.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. And I'm like, yeah, she's right. So you better start putting in time from work and book this kid. Like, you got every connection in the world. Like, she needs to go see it all. And so
Yep.
I just love being around the kids that are like with this desire to have the experiences, and they appreciate, like, that was the thing about the kid on Tater's team is I loved his appreciation for the art of shooting. I
At
love
such,
it. I'm
at
like,
such a
God,
young
how do
age.
we nurture this? This is gold.
Magic.
Yeah.
Call it the magic. Listen, when I get a kid shooting and he starts shooting lights out, it's not the financial reward. I just look at it and said, look, this kid bit into what I taught him
Yep.
and said, nothing's better than that. Nothing. Because I'm going to tell you something. When you teach youth how to shoot, it's like teaching them a language.
Mm-hmm.
You own it. I mean, you have to stay on top of it, but you never forget how to shoot. You may have to practice a little bit, but once I teach someone, they own that knowledge for the next 50 years.
That's
50
exactly how I felt. I woke up this morning and my coach sent me good morning from Africa. So he's wing shooting in Africa right now.
Good
And
morning from Africa.
yes. And it's so cool because even though I'm not shooting with him on a consistent basis, which I know I have so much more to learn, like
Never
I
stop.
never feel like I will ever know enough.
You never
Um,
stop learning.
and I think the deeper you get into it, the more hunger you have for the knowledge.
Yep.
So
You
I
never
talk
stop
to
learning.
him almost every single day, no matter where we are. And so it's really cool. I told him, I was like, well, I have like 6 more trips planned, for this next hunting season. So get
Mm-hmm.
ready. We're back to Africa next summer, like I said earlier. So I forgot that we talked about last night too about taking the ladies at Griffin and Howe up to Maine. We picked out a lodge up there. That's going to be so exciting for me because that's one place I've not been.
Maine is an experience. It's a full experience because what goes on in October in Maine is something so. The flight birds coming in, it's absolutely spectacular. You can hunt one cover this afternoon and then be back there again tomorrow morning, and the flight is in a half hour. Just spectacular. Just.
No, we don't know anything about that in the South for sure.
Well, we're just going to have to change that, aren't we?
And these are things that okay, so I've done grouse hunting, or I've done all my grouse hunting in the North Woods in Wisconsin because we would
Okay.
train dogs early, go to the North Woods, and then I love the bars over there in Wisconsin. It's like the hometown restaurant.
Yep.
Everybody comes in there with bird dog boxes in their truck, coming in from the
Everybody.
woods. Nobody will tell you where they've been, but they'll tell you all about it. And it was
Yep. Yep. That's the
so much
secret code.
fun.
Don't tell you.
Yeah.
Shame
And
on you.
it's like, how do we encourage people that have never experienced that to just pack up their truck and go? Because you'll never regret it. I've never met one person that ever went on a hunt and said, man, I wish I hadn't have done this.
Boy, I had a horrible time, didn't I? That was miserable. It's we live in a survival, making a living, and so many things are more important. And I don't think people have, at least where I live here in the Northeast, have as much recreational time to work. And I'm guilty of the same thing, but I mean, you really do got to get your priorities straight. I mean, if you
That's
ask
what
me
I
where
say.
I am the first week in October, everybody knows. Don't try to book a Maine or the next 2 weeks in the first 2 weeks in November. They know I'm in Mott, North Dakota, and that's
That's where
just
I
the
want to
way it
go.
is.
I
That's
love
just
North
the way.
Dakota. This is the thing I think that I'm not communicating properly. So there are really nice hunting lodges where you could spend an array of budgets and you don't have to worry about anything. Everything is provided for you, your schedule's done, all these things.
Yep,
Or you could go the other route
yep.
where you're public land hunting and you're going to stay in motels, not hotels, live on burgers and pizza bar
And
food,
live out of the back of your pickup truck
and
and
run
feed
it
the
into
dogs
every
out behind
Casey's.
the
Yep,
motel.
Casey's Pizza for breakfast. And your budget could be really basic to have that kind of experience. And it's like, um, there was, I don't know if they've put together bird hunts, but there's one group called Land Trust that I've done a podcast with, and they do a super cool thing where they partner with farms and ranches across the country that could offer hunting opportunities. So the ranch, they're just working ranches, and they have guests. They have a place for them to stay on site,
Yep,
and the rancher will show them property lines and all this stuff. So they have, they're hunting private land, but it's not guided. So it's like a public land experience, but it's,
right. But you're
the
doing your own
local
thing.
hunters there. So it offers a safer kind of scenario. But I just thought, man, that would be so cool. At the time that I talked to them, they had just launched and they didn't have a lot of bird hunting properties, but I know that it was growing because they're out of Bozeman, and the guys that were running it are really big upland hunters. So
Yep.
it was a priority for them. But I think that would just be so fun. I did those things because of my friend group was doing them, and I just absolutely love that season of life, like not knowing where you're going next. That's how I ended up in North Dakota. We ended
Yep.
up with an Airbnb that had big enough room for all of our dogs. We all had trailers full of dogs.
Everybody comes in. So you grab the book right from the state, the CRP land, right?
Yeah.
You go to the county and you can look at the CRP land because as long as the property is not posted, you can hunt it. Fabulous covers
It's
and
on
have the time of your
Oxmaps
life.
too. Like there's an app on Oxmaps. You can find it.
Absolutely. So it's a different level. Some people like the amenities.
Hmm.
Your dogs, and probably maybe in the beginning that might be a good way to go for people because maybe not everybody's a dog person. Unfortunately, I got hooked very young. I've had gun dogs my whole life. The dogs, for me, the shooting comes easy for me. It's about the dog work, right? So
You
it
do the
starts in a
same thing
different.
with play courses. And I don't think this is talked about enough either. I mean, everybody wants to talk about like traveling to different regions and having different species of game. But I will never forget the first time I shot in Phoenix, Arizona and saw like real cactuses and stuff from like, it was like a John Wayne movie scene.
That's
And
right.
I was like, holy smokes, like this is so cool. And it's the Ben Avery Center. It's so beautiful. They have a huge shooting facility there, and it's literally just like
Yes,
in the
they
middle of
do.
the desert.
Very different environment than what you're used to, right? You're down
Yeah,
there in
I was
Georgia.
I
You
was
get out
raised that.
west.
I was shooting on the mountain.
Yep. And
Lots of trees.
you think part of the experience
Yeah.
is to put yourself in a different environment, different weather, different climate, and to approach it with your knowledge. That's the excitement about wind shooting. Wind shooting is, you're one on one. I always say when I bring people out west, I said, look, you're going into their bedroom. They hear you coming. I mean, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose, and it's Did you do everything right?
And it's so fun too to I'll never forget the first time that I shot clays without trees. Oh my gosh. Without trees. Because I've relied on my line and it was really easy to tell. I knew exactly where I was going. And I went down to Sea Island and shot with John Kent down there over the marsh. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, where am I on this
Right.
bird? Like, and I
Right.
was such a new shooter, and I just remember being so nervous. And then,
No background, right?
oh, it was just gone. Yeah, blue sky. It was wild.
Kind of like
It was
shooting out
wild.
on the flat plains of America, right? You don't have, you know, you don't have anything to gauge depth, distance off of. You on the fringe, but that's part of the excitement. That's part. I
It's so
love
fun.
reading. It's all about reading the land, making a plan, and executing a game plan that you can see. It's the win-win about the whole wing shooting.
And we can do it anywhere.
Yeah, I've been hooked for years. I mean, I've been totally hooked for years. I've had the pleasure of shooting, and and no sourpusses where I go.
Okay, so we have a really cool, unique course here in Georgia. It's Elberton. Okay, so it's the rock quarry where they make all the tombstones. So when you go through
Yep.
town and there's like tombstones everywhere. So when we were up at Griffin and Howe, the Garden State SCI chapter had their first meet and greet event, and the new president of the NRA was there. He actually owns the big course in Pennsylvania that supposedly is like a rock quarry too up there. But when I saw the pictures, I was like, man, I think ours is better. It's not near as big. But I did hear about it because he was there.
It's a
And
few
that is
miles.
a
It's a few
whole
miles
nother
from here. It's kind of like an old mine shaft. And they
mine shaft. Okay, ours is a core.
very popular, very popular. Yeah, they used to mine stone there, and it's a very popular place out in
That is
PA.
just amazing to have the opportunity to shoot underneath you that much. Over water, in the rock. Yeah, you're shooting completely underneath you. And that brings a whole nother thing because there's very few places to practice those shots.
Yep. Well, I'm going to tell you something. When we first started competing and started shooting, the guys from out west used to come out and compete out here in the east, and the terrain, they're not used to this kind of terrain. So the target setters would take the advantage of that and use, and they would struggle with that a little bit because they're used to, like you said earlier, shooting flat. Now, when the shoe got on the other foot, when we all went down to Texas and out that way, same scenario. I said, where's the tree?
Yeah.
A little lost in the desert with that for a while too. So until we kind of got our footwork ready and realized some little bit different things and got used to that kind of terrain. And open water on big marshes versus some people hunt flooded timber, right? Everything is
Oh, yeah.
enclosed. Well, I take you down to Barnegat Bay.
It's
The
so different.
ranges and
Even when they're cupped up coming down, it still feels so different.
very
Because I
different.
hunted with oh gosh. What's the what's the boss guy out there in the water that does all the sea ducks? Pit boss.
Okay.
Yeah, I hunted with him before, and then going down to Arkansas is so different. But you're also on a boat, and so you're not even like grounded.
Right. Have you ever shot out of a layout boat?
Not a layout boat.
So that is probably the most unusual perspective of being level with the water, laying down in a boat with your gun across your chest, and the birds are coming in right in on the decoys. that's something I got to get you to
Yeah. Yeah.
experience. That
So
because
many.
that's the resource we have at that time of year. That's
Hmm.
very effective.
And it's so different because, of course, we've done layouts in with snow geese and all that,
Yeah,
but it's different when you're on ground that's not moving
right.
versus
But
the
when you're in
water.
the water and everyone else leaves, they're 300 yards away, and you're in a boat. Typically, we have a pair of. So hopefully, we have a left-handed shooter. We put him on this side,
I'll be your
right?
lefty.
Right. So the right-handed shooter goes this way, and the southpaw goes on this side, and we got both ends covered. So, but uh, people get pretty creative all around the country with working the resources they have to work with. So, all good stuff.
Well, I can say we started this conversation with the evolution of shooting methods, and we've ended it, I think, on the evolution of hunting. Because
A lot more to
once you
go.
get
So,
started, everything snowballs. And I feel like every single day, no matter how many of these podcasts I do, it's always better. Like it just continues to get better. The conversations get better, the challenges get better, the expectations are better, and
yeah.
I hope that all the listeners feel like that our emotions and obsession with this is contagious.
Why do you think we can sit here on number 99, right, or number 2 out of 99? When you've done this, everybody's. And I think one of the main things is we want to bring more people in to share that excitement and that lifestyle, the
Yeah.
shooting lifestyle, right? The outdoor lifestyle, and it's highly move forward with this. Let them throw topics out there and see if we can clarify some things with it. You know, at least for your experience with it and my experience with it, and
And if anybody has already got hooked on Kevin because he is one of a kind, you can book a lesson with him at Griffin and Howe in New Jersey. You can call the pro shop and they will put you on his appointment book. There's accommodations, the whole thing. So
yep.
it doesn't matter where in the world you are. You might have to wait a little bit. He seems to be
Yeah,
quite
I'm a
popular,
little busy.
but it will be worth it.
I'm grateful that I have. I'm very humbled that I have people coming from all over to spend time with me, and it's a real honor to be able to say this is this is what I do for a living, and it's
I
that
know. You're
people
a true pillar for our community. I've appreciated you over these years, and I really appreciate the time that you're dedicating to this podcast because I feel like it's very important that the world gets to hear your stories.
just recently again that I have to share the tribal knowledge.
Yeah.
Take that for what it's worth, and he is a. And that's what he calls it, and I agree with it. It's, I got to share the tribal knowledge of being out there for 50 years and come across a few things. So if we can share it, we're going to give it.
That's for sure. And we talked a lot too about the young instructors in the industry, and we're always here to support you guys. So reach out, send us your questions, and we're here
More
for
than,
you. Yeah. And again on next Tuesday, we'll be here next
that's
Tuesday.
right. Okay. That'll do it.
The dawn's finally breaking as I leave this sleepy town. The sun is slowly rising and the fog is on the ground.